Okay, we're going to do some presentation techniques on our shapes. You're going to need just a fine line to do this. Okay, so once you've drawn in your shapes in the fine liner, you need to rub out the pencil lines. So you need to remember to have pressed on very lightly with your pencil when you're drawing the crates for your shapes, and rub them out. Okay, so you can't see any of the pencil lines now. Make sure your page is nice and clean, and you can see that now that all I've got on the page is just my fine liner. Okay, it's just the black line of the fine liner. Okay, we're going to do two or three presentation techniques on this page. The first presentation technique I'm going to use is something called outlining, and it's very quick and very simple to do. So first shape I'm going to do is on this shape. Now outlining, basically we use a fine liner. What I'm going to do is very quickly and very roughly as well is I'm going to go around the outline of my shape. That's why obviously it's called outlining. So you see what I'm doing, I'm following the direction of the shape, so moving in the direction of the shape. What I mean by that is this line goes this way, so I'm moving my pen back and forth this way. This line is diagonal, so I'm moving my pen back and forth this way. And particularly at the corners, you just overlap that very slightly and make it rough. I'll do that again. Remember, do not go inside the shape. Okay, you're outlining. You're going around the outline of the shape. Okay, it's quite rough, but not too rough. You're not scribbling, and you can see what I'm doing is forming, I suppose, like a frame. A darker black frame around the shape. Okay, let's try a different shape. Let's try this one here. Okay, again, it's very quick, fairly rough. The corners cross over. Now when I come to here, I'm not going to go inside the shape here. It's only the outline, and when I mean the outline, I just mean the outline of the shape. Okay, there you go. Let's do one more. Let's try this. Let's do this L shape here. So follow the direction of the shape all the time. Direction of the line of that shape, the particular line that you're working on. There we go. And you can see what it does is really it lifts your ideas from the page. It makes them stand out that little bit more from the page. And professional designers use it, so this is a professional technique. Okay, the second technique I'm going to do is called thick and thin lines. We'll start with a basic shape like this one, and then we'll move on to something a bit more complex like this kind of U kind of shape here. So thick and thin lines, basically you're just thickening the outline of the shape first of all, so all the way around the outline of the shape again, but this time it's not rough, it's fairly neat and deliberate. So you can just see all I'm doing, look, just using my fine liner to make that line thicker. Okay, and then I'm just drawing another line on top of another line, making it thicker each time I use my pen. Okay, now the rule is as follows. If you put your pen on a line, like this line here, if you can see a face, we call this a face, it's part of the shape, it's a flat surface. If you can see only one face attached to that line or next to that line, then that line is thick. So you can see with this line here, there's a face this side, but there is nothing this side, okay, because this isn't part of the shape, it's just empty space. But with this line here, which is inside the shape, we can see that on the right hand side there's a face, which is this face here, this sloping face of the shape, and on the left hand side there is another face as well. So there's two faces, 1, 2. That line stays thin. You don't do anything with that line. you must make sure that if you make the line thicker, it's thick enough, or there's a contrast in thickness between the thin and the thick line. So this line is thick enough to be able to tell the difference between the two. Okay, it's no good if you can't tell which one is the thick line. So we'll just do that again. We'll just do this on this shape here. So all I'm going to do is make this line thicker. So the general rule is that you can usually go around the outside of the shape the same as outlining, and all the lines will be thick. Okay, so I'm just going to go around the outside of the shape, or the outline of the shape, and go all the way around back to where I started from. I'm not going to go inside the shape at all. Now these lines will all be thin, but we'll just check. So this line, there's a face here and there's a face here, thin. This line, a face here and a face here, thin. This line, face, face, two. This line, face, face, two faces. This line, face and a face. So they're all going to stay thin. Now there are some shapes where this differs, and then on this shape here on the side, this U shape, we'll have a go at doing this. So first of all, what I'm going to do is just go around the outline, just thicken that up. So I'm going to go all the way around. It's not rough. Now when I get to here, I'm going to go up here and across. So sticking to the outline of the shape, not going inside the drawing or inside the outer line of the drawing. There we go. So I've gone all the way around. Now on here, there's this part here is being cut, like cut away, if you like. It's part missing in the middle. So let's just have a look at some of the lines in here. So this line, this vertical line here, I can see that on the right hand side of it there's a face, but on the left hand side of it, because that is actually a gap, we can imagine that the face is behind there. There is only one face attached to it, so therefore that line is thick. There we go. Okay, this line here, there's a face on the right, but there isn't a face here. That is an empty space, so the face would be behind there, so that would be thick as well. Now let's look at the other lines. This one face, two face, that stays thin. This line, one face, two face, that stays thin. This line, one face, two face, that stays thin. And then this small line here, one face, two face, that stays thin. And then this line here, there's a face there and a face there, that stays thin. Okay, so we'll have a go at another U shape. On here we go at this one. So thick. This is a thick line. So is this. You can actually use this technique to maybe straighten some of your lines as well. You can see this line is a little bit curved, so I'm going to use the fact that I'm going to go over it and make it thicker to make it straighter as well. Okay, so I'll go all the way around the outline of the shape. There we go. Now, so this line, one face attached to it, so that's a thick line there. This line is one face attached to it on the right, so that's thick as well. And then we know that the rest of the lines are thin. And there we go. So what I want you to do is have a go at those two techniques, outlining and thick and thin lines on your other shapes. Okay, so maybe half of the shapes half of the shape use an outlining technique, and on the other half of the shapes use the thick and thin technique. Try and use the thick and thin technique on shapes where you've got cutouts like this on the U shapes. Okay. This is what you should end up with. So approximately half your shapes should be outlined and half your shapes should use thick and thin. And there you go.